Hi, welcome back to Firewall Life YouTube channel. Today I'm planning to demonstrate the second part of the Azure Palo Alto deployment. In first part, I explained to you how to deploy virtual networks into Azure environment and how to segregate virtual network into separate subnets. And also we deployed two virtual machines into two virtual network subnets, and also we deployed Palo Alto next generation firewall. Now today I'm planning to teach you how to steer traffic through the Palo Alto next generation firewall in order to secure our environment. So we have two scenarios to be checked. The first scenario is north-south traffic. So that means traffic from the internet and internet from the servers to the internet. So the second scenario is east-west traffic. So that means traffic between subnets. So then we can secure our subnets. Let's say a malware is going to be infected to one subnet, let's say web subnet. But using Palo Alto next generation firewall, we can prevent that the malware is being infected or propagated to other subnets like database subnet. So that is the plan today. So let's get into configurations now. So log into Azure portal. So here's the Azure portal, and this is our firewall. It is in the stop state because my first step is to make the firewall interface IP addresses static. So let me go to networking tab, and here we have management interface. Actually we are not going to do any changes to management interface, but we are going to do changes to our untrust and trust interfaces. Here is our untrust interface. Once I started the firewall, I'll let you know this interface assignment logic. So because I think it's important that you can understand, you must understand the logic. I mean the interface assignment logic. So so here let me go to this interface and let me click the link and then go to IP configurations. Here we have this entry and it says dynamic. So let me change it to static. So let me save it. Don't worry, I'll explain all these things once I started the firewall. So now it has been saved. Let me go back to the firewall and go to the third interface, and let me click the link and IP configurations, and it says it is also dynamic, and let me change it to static and save. Okay, so let's wait for the configuration changes to be saved. Now it has been saved. So let me go to the virtual machines and start the firewall. Just click and start it. Okay, the execution start command on unselected items. Okay, so in order to start the firewall, it takes some time. So let me pause the video and come back once started. So the firewall has been started now. So let me go to the firewall management interface. Let me copy and let's try to log into the firewall. This is the firewall management interface, Palo Alto next generation firewall. So let me enter my username and the password. Okay, now the administrative session is being created. So let's wait for a second. And I'd like to give you some, recommendation. So here, since we are just performing a demonstration only, you can use public IP address of this Azure environment in order to log into the Palo Alto firewall. But in production environment, I think it is not a good idea to expose this public IP address into to the internet. So it's better if you can have some kind of VPN connection in order to access the firewall. or otherwise you have to restrict your connection station, your laptop public IP address in the Palo Alto management interface permitted IPs, because otherwise so many brute force attacks can be seen in your firewall logs. Okay, so let me click close. So here let me go to the device tab first. In device tab, here this is management, and this is this interface tab. So this is the management interface. Okay, so let me go back to the Azure portal and let me show you the interfaces. Here this is the first interface, is the management interface, which is assigned to firewall management interface, because here in Azure we have Azure level interfaces. Here we have three interfaces. This is the first, this is the second, and this is the third. These are the Azure level interfaces. Okay, so when it comes to PAN OS, this is PAN OS. I mean, we have installed Palo Alto Firewall into the Azure. Here this is the Palo Alto operating system. In Palo Alto operating system, this is the management interface. So this management interface, this is a standard thing. So you have to understand this in order to understand how to deploy Palo Alto firewalls into Azure and how to configure interfaces. So this is the management interface. This management interface of the PAN OS level interface, or the PAN OS level management interface, is mapped to the first interface of the Azure level first interface. This is the Azure level first interface, that is ETH0. So this interface is assigned to, or the map to, the Palo Alto management interface. It is a standard thing, you have to remember it. Okay, so let me go to the Azure level interface and let me check the IP address, that is 192.168.240.68. Okay, so let me go to Palo Alto PAN OS level management interface and let me open it. So let me check the IP address. This is a DHCP assign interface. So let me click here. You can see the IP address is 192.168.240.68. So that means that is the management interface. Okay, so then let me go to data interfaces. Let me go to network tab and interfaces. Here we have Ethernet 1/1 and Ethernet 1/2. These are the two interfaces that are important for us. Here this Ethernet 1/1 is mapped to the second interface of the Azure level. This ETH1 is going to be mapped to this Ethernet 1/1. Okay, that is a standard thing, you have to remember that. So then we have Ethernet 1/2. This interface is going to be mapped to Azure level, this third interface, that is ETH2. Okay. So I think now you have idea about this interface mapping between PAN OS and the Azure level. So let me assign IP addresses into PAN OS. So let me go to this SunTrust interface. So that is ETH1. So this is the IP address that should be assigned to the interface, and I think you can remember that our subnet mask, or the subnet, is /27. So let me go to the firewall and open the Ethernet 1/1 interface, and here the interface type should be layer 3, and our IP address should be this IP address, and the subnet mask should be 27. So let me click here, and let me select a virtual router. So here I'm going to use the default virtual router, and here I have to have a security zone. Here my security zone should be untrust, because this is our untrust interface. So let me type untrust. So you can type whatever internet or whatever the your required name, but here I'm using the term untrust. So let me click OK, and then so that's all for the moment for this interface. So let me click OK. So before that, I think it's better if I can give you the network diagram in order to understand the network architecture. This is our diagram which was created in our previous demonstration. Here this is our untrust zone, and IP address range is 192.168.240. I think this is 128, right? So let me go back to the firewall and check. Yeah, now here our IP address is 240.132, so that means that is the subnet. So then our trust interface range is 192.168.240.96/27. So let me go to Azure level interface. This is our trust interface. So what is IP? IP is 240.100. So that means this IP is in our IP address range, within this range. So let me go back to the firewall and open 1/2 interface and change the interface type to layer 3. So let me click IPv4 and enter the IP address, and subnet mask is /27. Okay, so let me go to config and let me select the virtual router, that is default, and let me create new security zone, that is trust. Okay, now let me click okay, let me click OK. Okay, now it's fine. So then so let me commit, because once I'm done with the configuration, so let me commit. So now the first thing is, actually there are several configurations should be done, but I'm not doing those things for the moment, because actually I just want to give you some idea. So in my practice, I normally do not do all the configurations required, because I mean when I'm teaching, I mean when it comes to my when I'm in work, so normally when I'm in work, I do all the required configuration and then test. But in two situations, I'm not doing that. The first situation is, let's say I'm learning something, so I'm not going to do all the required steps first. I do one step at a time and just check, because in that scenario I can understand the required changes or the required configurations. If I'm going to do all the, let's say if I'm following a tutorial and I'm doing the configurations into a firewall, and after doing all the configurations only, I'm checking the whatever the required functionality. So then I cannot understand the required steps. Sometimes there can be several steps that are not required, even though those are mentioned in the tutorial. So you also have to try to follow these steps. Don't do all the configuration, just do one step at a time and then check. So then you can grab only the required steps and the logic. So here, and when it comes to teaching also, I'm not doing all the required configuration and then show you the functionality, but I am doing one step at a time, and then I'm try to check the functionality, and if it is not working, so then I can point out the missing configuration to you. So here also I'm not configuring the default route, because in the firewall I have to have a default route in order to route traffic to the internet. Okay, I'm not configuring the default route. I'm just assigning IP addresses to the interfaces. This is our untrust interface, and here I'm going to ping from untrust interface. This is the interface to the internet. So let me log into the firewall using the CLI. Let me copy the IP address and open the party session to the firewall. Let me click open. Okay. Here also, this is very risky situation because my firewall SSH session, I mean SSH port, or the port 22 is open to the public internet. So since this is a demonstration, that is fine. But in your production environment, don't do that. So let me enter my password. Okay, so now I'm in the firewall command line. So let me try to ping ping using this Andras interface to the internet. So the command is ping source. My IP address, source IP address is 192.168.240.132, and my destination IP, that is the host, is, let's say, 8.8.8. So you can see now I cannot ping to the internet because my firewall does not know how to route traffic to the internet. So in order to route traffic to the internet, my firewall should have a default gateway or the default route. So let me go to the firewall and go to virtual routers, and let me go to the default virtual router and go to static routes, and let me add the default route. Let me name it as default. You can use whatever your required name, and the destination should be the internet. So that means 000/0, and my interface is 1/1. That is my address interface, and the next stop would be I think you have to go back to my previous demonstration and check my theory. In any Azure subnet, the first IP address, I mean not the subnet address, because when it comes to a subnet, the firstmost address and the last address is not usable. First address is the subnet address, and the last address is the broadcast address. But the second IP address is, in Azure subnets, the second IP address is the default router or the default gateway for that subnet. You just check my previous demonstration. I have already explained that. So in this scenario, let me go to virtual networks, and here let's go to FLive VNet, and let me go to subnets, and here this is our Andras subnet. In this Andras subnet, our IP address range is 192.168.240.128. So that means our default router or the default gateway IP address should be 129. Okay. So let me check my firewall window again. No, this is not the one. This is the firewall window. You can see the ping is not working. So let me go to firewall and enter the next stop or the default gateway 192.168.240.129. Okay, because I'm telling that if my logic is in Azure, in any subnet, the first IP address is the subnet IP, so you can't use it, but the second IP address is the default gateway. So you can prove that using the procedure that you enter all the IP addresses into the firewall, and without entering the default gateway or the default route in static route area of the default virtual router, and then you go to the firewall and initiate a ping connection to the ping request to the internet, but then you can experience that it is not working. Then only you enter this IP address and default route configuration. So in that scenario, once you're done with this configuration, if this is going to be work, so that means your theory or what you have learned is correct. So you have to follow this for each and every configuration you do. I mean, in the work environment or the office environment, sometimes you can do this, but when you learning something, or when you teaching, or when you learning something, I think this is the best method to follow. Oh, let me click OK. So let me click OK. If this is not working, so then we know that our theory or our idea is wrong. So let me click commit, and you have to take this window and check whether the ping is going to be success. So if this is going to be success, so that means our theory is right or the correct. It's 98% completed, 99% completed. Oh, we have a problem. We have a problem. It's not working. But here, so let me check. So now it's not working. So let me check. Let me minimize the window and close this. So let me go to the virtual router and static routes. So our destination is fine and interface is fine. And let me go to the F-Live Contra. So that means 192.168.240 that 128. So that means the default router should be 129. 129. Oh, that is also fine, but it's not working yet. So let's interrupt the thing and let me start it again. No, it's not working. So we have to check. So let me go to policies, and here we have allow. Let me go to the show level interface, and let me go to the firewall and networking tab, and let me go to the first. Okay, we have issue because here in our first interface or the Andros interface we do not have a public IP address assigned. Okay, that is our issue. Okay, so let me go back to the firewall and let me for the moment let me remove this, because otherwise if I'm going to assign this public IP address here, so you cannot say you cannot specifically identify this the static route should be required or not. Okay, so let me delete this first. Okay, let me delete and click OK. For the moment I'm deleting that because I want to follow the steps that I explained to you previously. Let me commit. Okay, let me commit. So let's wait for the commit operations to be completed. I know this takes time, but this is the way you have to follow, because if you are going to do all the configuration and then check, you do not know what are the required configuration and what are the not required configuration, you cannot understand. So you have to do one change at a time and you have to check, so then you can understand the logic as well. So let me go here and let me assign public IP address. Let me click here and IP configurations, because here you have to have a public IP. So let me click here and let me click associate and choose public IP address. But here I have a problem, because here is IP 224.120. But no, at this moment we do not have IP. So let me create a new IP address. PA unrust. Okay, and the SKU, this is standard stock keeping unit, that's basic IP. Actually this is not that much important at this moment, but this is important. But for this demonstration I'm not going to explain these things. This is going to be a mess if I'm going to explain everything. So assignments would be static because we need a static IP, and let me click OK. So now we have this IP and let me click save. Okay, so let me wait for the save operation to be completed. So new IP address has been created, but it is not has not been assigned to the interface yet, so we have to wait some time. I think you can understand why I removed that default route, right? Because I don't want to do two changes at a time. So if I'm going to do two changes at a time, then you may get confused and you may not know. So what are the required configurations here? I think you can understand. Here we need to have a public IP address for the Azure level interface in order to access internet. So now the interface configuration has been completed. So now let me go back to my ping window. You can see now ping is not working yet. Now let's go to the virtual router and now let's add the default route. So let me go to virtual router and static routes. Let me add default and 0.0.0.0/0. Okay, so let me select the interface and the next stop would be 192.168.128. Sorry, 168.1.240, right? 240.129. So now let me click OK and let me say click OK and commit. Now let's check the ping window. Now the configuration has been completed, but the ping is not working yet. So let me go back to the the VNet. I'm not quite sure about the IP address that we use. Let me go to Fly VNet and subnet, and this is Andras. The IP address is 192.168.128. So the first IP address of that subnet is 129. So let me go to the static route Ethernet 1/1 192.168.240.129. That is fine. So let me interrupt the ping and let me start it again. It is not working, so let me ping some other IP. Yeah, now it's working, but it is not working. Why it is not working? So let me ping Google. Yeah, it's working. So let me it is not working for 888 because actually I also have no idea why it is not pinged to 888. So let me ping to 1111 and let me keep the ping going and let me remove the default route and show my logic to you. That is the first IP address of or the second IP address of the Azure virtual subnet is the default gateway. So let me delete this and click OK and commit. Sometimes you may think that why I am wasting time, but this is not wasting time. This is the way we should learn. You can see the ping is working. So I just removed the default gateway and I just want this to be stopped. So once this is completed, so it's 99 and now it's 100%. So you can see the ping is not working anymore. See, so that means our logic is correct. So that means the first IP or the second, the first IP is the subnet IP. The second IP address of Azure virtual subnet is the default gateway for that subnet. So let me add it again. Default destination is internet, and our egress interface is 1/1 and the default gateway is 192.168.240.129. So let me click OK and commit, and let me go back to the ping window and let's check. the ping should get started. So let's wait. See, our ping is working now, so that means our theory is right. So that means when it comes to Azure VNet, the first IP, or sorry, the second IP address of the subnet is the default gateway for that subnet. Okay, now it's fine. So now let me go to interfaces again. So now we have internet access from the firewall itself. So now let me go to one more time. Let me draw the routing scenario here. This is our firewall, and this is our untrust interface. I have already told you that my drawings are not that much clear, but nothing to do. That is my capability. Okay, this is untrust. So we have a this is untrust, and this is, let's say, this is a subnet, and we have a default route to the second IP address of this subnet. So that is the default route. Let's say default route. Okay, so now it's fine. Here we have our management interface, so that is fine. This is management, because here there is no static route in management, that is DHCP, MGMT. So we just can neglect that configuration. Here this is our trust subnet. Our trust. So let me delete that one. Okay. Okay, this is our trust subnet and trust interface actually. This is PA. Okay, this is Palo Alto firewall, and this is our trust interface, and this is subnet. And now I'm going to explain you a extremely important theory in Azure routing. Okay, here we have another two subnets. This is our web subnet, let's say www, and this is our DB subnet, database subnet. Okay, so here we need this database subnet and the web subnet to communicate through the firewall, because here the current situation, our routing path is this. The www or the web subnet can communicate database subnet directly, and the database subnet can communicate to web subnet directly. So actually we want to restrict this direct communication. So in order to do that, we have to route traffic to the firewall interface. We have to route traffic to the firewall interface. Okay, and in database subnet also we have to route traffic to the firewall interface. But the problem is, this firewall, this our Palo Alto firewall, does not have any idea about these two subnets. I mean, firewall does not know about this web subnet or the database subnet. But this trust subnet is fine, because it is connected subnet. We know how to send traffic. But let's say this web subnet, we have already implemented the web server, right? This is our web server in the web subnet. If we are going to ping this firewall subnet or the firewall interface using this web server, this is ping request. Ping. Ping. My pen is not working correctly. Okay, ping. But this is not going to work. Actually, problem is this web subnet or the web server know how to send traffic to this trust subnet. This is trust subnet. Trust. This is trust. This web server know how to send traffic to this trust subnet, because in web server all the required IP addresses and default gateways are assigned automatically by DHCP using DHCP. This is DHCP client actually. I mean, all the required default gateways and all the required IP addresses are assigned using DHCP. So in that scenario, this web server know how to send traffic to this trust subnet or the firewall interface. But the problem is firewall does not have any idea how to send return traffic to this web subnet, because firewall does not have any routing for this web subnet. So let me explain this using this web server. This is our web server. I think it's disconnected. Let me restart the session. No, it's not disconnected. So before that, let me go to the firewall and check this interface. So let me enable the ping here in firewall interface. Let me enable the ping profile, because otherwise firewall won't respond to ping request. So let me enable ping and OK. Now it's being enabled. Let me click OK and commit. So let's wait for the commit operation. It's almost 70 completed, 98 completed, 98 completed. So let's wait. 99. It's done. Okay. So now let me check the IP 240.100. Let me go to the web server. Ping 192.168.240.100. Ping 240.100. But here the web server can ping. So actually I just want to check how this happens. So let me go to policies. I'll explain you what is what is happening here. 115 or not. Let me go to virtual router. Here we have different route. To 1.9. Here our ping is working. So okay, let me get the virtual routers. I think I can understand the situation here, because here in static routes we have a default route. Okay, we have a default route. In Azure, all the subnets in the VNet are already connected. So in that scenario, I guess that this default route is the reason for our ping to work. So that means, so let me remove the default route and check whether we can ping. Delete. Okay, okay. Let me commit. Most probably, I mean, this should be disabled once I'm done with the removal. So then I'll explain the scenario here. I think the ping has stopped. Yeah, the ping has stopped. Actually, so let me, get the one note and explain the scenario here. Okay, so let me go a new diagram. Here we have this is our Palo Alto firewall. This is the Palo Alto. Here, this is our untrust interface, and I'm just neglecting the management. This is our trust interface, and here our untrust interface is connected to our untrust subnet. This is our untrust subnet, and this is our trust subnet. Okay, so then we have our web subnet here. This is our web subnet, and this is our database subnet. This is web, and this is database. So in this scenario, what happens is when I ping the file interface, traffic comes to the file interface, and since this traffic is from trust to trust, because my destination is trust interface, so that means trust to trust. So that means intra-zone traffic. Trust to trust means trust to trust. In Palo Alto, intra-zone, because this is within same zone. Intra-zone, this is intra-zone traffic. Intra. So in Palo Alto, by default, intra-zone traffic is allowed. So let me show that in the Palo Alto policies tab. Here, this is intra-zone default. So let me go to action. It is allowed. Okay. So let me go to the monitor tab and show you. Here I have already put a filter. This is my web server, and this is the firewall trust interface IP. So here from zone is trust, and the to zone is trust. Okay. So in that scenario, the traffic is getting allowed once I ping the trust interface of the firewall. But the problem is when firewall tries to respond to that ping request, it sees this subnet. This is this subnet, this web subnet. Actually, firewall does not have any specific routing entry for this web subnet. Firewall does not have a specific routing entry. But the thing is, firewall has a more broader routing entry, that is the default route. Firewall has a default route to untrust subnet default gateway IP. So that means untrust subnet second IP. So that is the default gateway IP of the untrust subnet. So then the firewall sends return traffic through the untrust subnet, and it will send the return traffic to untrust subnet second IP. So that means the untrust subnet default gateway. Since the Azure subnets, all Azure subnets are connected each other. So then this untrust subnet would send that traffic back to the web subnet. So here, due to our routing scenario, this is asymmetric routing scenario. So this is not that much appropriate. So what we can do is we can just put a route entry here. We can put a route entry to tell the firewall if we want to access www subnet or the web subnet, you just send that traffic back to trust subnet second IP address, that is the default gateway of trust subnet. Okay, I think you got my idea. So let me go to the firewall and let me put routing entry, because actually at this moment my ping is not working because I have removed the default route. So firewall doesn't have any route to send return traffic back to the web subnet. So let me add www route. So the IP address range is, so the destination IP address would be 192.168.240.0/27. That is our web subnet, and the interface should be 1/2. That is our trust interface, and the next hop should be 192.168.240.1. That is the second IP address of the web subnet. The first IP is 240.0. That is the subnet IP. This is the first IP, actually usable first IP, that is the default gateway or the default router IP address of that web subnet. So let me click OK and click OK and commit. So let me see whether our ping is going to be start again with this specific route. Actually, I'm sorry, because I made a mistake. Because let me go back to the routing. This routing is wrong, because here this is this is the the default router address of the web subnet. Actually, our firewall trust interface is the trust subnet. So actually we have to put the second IP address of the trust subnet. So I made a mistake. So let me check the trust subnet IP address range. That is 240.96. So that means trust subnet, the default gateway IP address is 240.97. So then the firewall send traffic back to the 240.97. So then the Azure level, this trust subnet default router knows how to send that traffic back to the web subnet. Okay, so let me go to the firewall again, and it should be 97. Let me click OK. Okay, so let me commit it again. I'm really sorry for the mistake. So let's see for the commit operation to be completed. Let's see. It's 99. Yeah, now it's working. So that means that now the firewall knows how to send traffic back to the web subnet. So here, even though we do not have the default route, now it's fine, because the previous scenarios, it's asymmetric kind of a scenario. It's not good, because in troubleshooting also it is somewhat difficult thing for us to troubleshoot this type of a scenario. So here let me explain you this scenario again. I know this will take some time, but I think it's better if I can explain this one more time. So I think it's better if I can change the color. Let me get the red color. Okay, so previously what happened was, my firewall here the web server, we initiated a ping. Sorry, I'm sorry, because it's not the one okay. So we initiated the ping
from web server to the firewall trust interface. So the traffic got allowed because this traffic comes from trust to trust, because this is a trust interface. If you're going to ping untrust interface, that means we are crossing a, we are crossing a zone. So then we have to have a specific rule. But here, since this is a intra-zone traffic, because trust to trust, so trust to trust means intra-zone traffic. So that means it is allowed by default. Okay. So then once it allows, so firewall checks where to send the return traffic. Since the firewall doesn't have any idea about this web subnet, firewall does not have any specific static route for this web subnet, but firewall has a common route. So that is the default route. So then the firewall send return traffic to untrust subnet default route IP. So that means untrust subnet second IP. So then the untrust subnet knows how to send traffic back to web subnet, because in Azure subnet they have by default routing enabled. So they have by default they have routing enabled. So then the untrust subnet send the traffic back to web subnet. So that's how the thing worked in previous scenario. So now what I've done is I just in order to check that scenario, I just removed this default route. So then we observed that the ping got stopped. So then I put a specific route telling the Palo Alto firewall, if you want to reach www or the web subnet, so then you have to send traffic back to your trust subnet second IP, that is the default route IP. So then the firewall, once the firewall gets the ping request, so it responds back, send back to trust subnet second IP, that is the default route IP. So then the trust subnet would send traffic back to web subnet. So that is our scenario. Now I think you've got the idea. And actually I have another theory related to Azure, so I have to explain that. So let me go to that theory as well. So let me go back to firewall. So here I think it's better if I can put the this default static route, because otherwise firewall cannot access. I think my VM got disconnected. So let me restart the session. Let me close and open it again. Let me go to virtual machines. This is web server, and get IP, copy, paste it here, open. So white. So let me go back. Copy. Paste. So it's 13. Let me get mousepad window and paste, and then I don't know why it's not getting copy. Okay. So let me open the window, username and the password. Okay, here let me ping again 192.168.240.100. Now it is working fine. So let me start another party session, and I just want to log into the firewall CLI as well. Here sometimes when I'm recording demonstrations, sometimes the troubleshooting steps, I'm planning to do troubleshooting steps lively manner, because sometimes if something is not working, so then I can just pause the video, can I go back and check and come and do it without any time gap. But I think it's better if I can do it a live manner, so then you can also understand troubleshooting steps and all. So let me open the Firewall CLI, username, the password. Okay, so then let me ping to internet using my Android interface. So it should not work due to the missing uh, default route 240.132. That is the source packet address. Ping source 192.168.240.132 host 100.1. So you can see now we cannot ping internet. So let me go back to the firewall and recreate the default route. Let me go to static routes and add default, and my destination would be 000/0. This is my address interface. So let me check my subnet under subnet address range in order to get the default route IP. It should be 240.129. Okay. 192.168.240.129. You can comment my teaching style and all, because if I'm doing any mistakes, or if I'm doing any if I have any weaker points when I'm teaching, you just comment, so then I can correct those things. Let me click OK. Okay. So let me commit. So let's get the window and check whether we can ping internet. So let's wait for the commit operation to be completed. 75% completed. 98% completed. Yeah, now it's working. The other thing is working because we have a default route. So now so I had to mention another ping request to my web server, so using the firewall. So because it's going to be worked obviously, because since I can ping from web server to the firewall. So but I would like to initiate a ping source. So let me check the trust interface IP address. It's 240.100. Source is 192.168.240.100, and my web server is 240.4. I guess 192.168.240.4. Yeah, I can ping my web server. So then I just want to ping my we call database server. So but my plan is to divide I'm not going to complete the both the scenarios here as well, because I think if I'm going to do that, this video is going to be a lengthy one. Now I'm going to uh, address only the north-south traffic in this demonstration, and in third demonstration, or the third part of this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to perform, or how to route traffic between subnets to the firewall. Okay. Okay, so then let's take only the web server for the moment for this demonstration. Now you can see we have access to internet and as well as to the web server. So here my web server IP address is let me go back to Azure and get the IP, and let me access the web server directly. So let me go to this the web server. But here you can see now I cannot access web server directly. I just want to check why it's not working, because I think I have already installed Apache server. So let me check what happens. Now it's not reachable. System CPL status Apache 2. Actually it's running. I think I have to go to Azure portal, and let me go to networking, not networking, let me go to virtual networks. Actually, at this moment, I'm doing the troubleshooting live manner. I'm not I have not prepared beforehand. So let me go to F-Live VNet. So let me check. Actually, both of us in the same page now because I'm troubleshooting lively. Because actually at this moment I don't have idea why it's not working. But let's check, because if we know the logic, we should be able to troubleshoot it, right? Because since I'm separating video into another part, so I have time. So my subnet is F-Live Web. Here this is a route table, but I have not explained the route table theory. But at this moment I do not need this, so that's why I'm not explaining. But I'm going to explain it within a few minutes time. Okay, so let me go to F-Live Web. Okay, it's okay. So let me go to the VM. F-Live Web. Because so let me explain this route table thing, because in Azure uh, we can steer traffic using, I think in the demonstration I explained you, there are two types of routing. So system routes, so that means by default there are routes. So in when it comes to subnet, we have a default route pointing to the internet using system routes. So this, let me explain, because actually I'm in the process of troubleshooting. So here let's try to find the issue, because we cannot access the web server. Here this is our web subnet, and we by default we have system routes. We have a system route. Okay, so by default, since we have system routes, so we must have a default route to the internet. This is the internet. We have a default route. So we do not have to put any route table. Route table means can you remember explaining something called UDR, user defined route? Because we need this route table when we are going to route traffic to the firewall, because we want to steer traffic. So in that scenario, we have to apply a route table into the web subnet and ask this web subnet to send whatever the traffic destined from different subnet or to the internet, just send that traffic to the firewall trust interface. So in that scenario, we need a UDR for the route table. But here we do not need a route table, because actually we just want to check the web server is working, and we want to just check the web server is accessible through the internet in this time. Okay, so let me go to I think now you have idea about route table. Actually just the routing table we are applying to the our subnet. So let me go to www and let me go to networking, and let me go to the interface. I just want to check I mean something called security groups. Here virtual machine, one moment, www. Okay, here let me go to networking, and here this is the security group. Okay, but actually now I got the I have identified the issue, because we have something called security group. So let me explain that as well, because it's also important. So let's say if you have a let's say we have a virtual machine, web server, firewall, or whatever. So let's say this is a web server. It's a web server, or whatever the machine. So here we have the interface. This is our interface. So when we deploy whatever the VM in Azure there is something called security group. It's like a firewall. It's like a firewall. But here this is just a layer for firewall because we only can filter traffic using port numbers and IP addresses. So here we have to allow traffic inbound direction as well as outbound direction. But when this this is called security group. Okay, security group. In the secret group, when this is getting created, when we deploy a virtual machine, the outbound direction, because from VM to outbound, all the ports are allowed. I mean open, everything open, all open. But inbound, the specific ports are open, specific. So here now it's just a simple thing. So when we go to the secret group, here this is secret group, and we can see that we do not have any port 80 rule for the this virtual machine. So let me add inbound rule. So source, let me put any because we are accessing from the internet, and service, let me select HTTP. This is HTTP, okay, and allow. And priority is the order of the rule. So at this moment it is not that much now important. So let me change the name to port 80. Add. So now the security rule is getting applied. So once it is applied, we should be able to access our web server through the internet. Okay, now it's done. So let me go to the window and let me refresh. We are not getting the web server interface yet, but normally when it comes to Azure, these configuration changes may take time. Still it's getting loaded, so it's not working. So let me reload again. Now it's working. This is our web page. This is our web server. So that means we can access web server directly using its public IP address.
Okay, now our next step is to route the traffic through the firewall. That is our what you call north-south traffic. So let me change the color. So here, let me go back to our previous diagram. I think that is easy. So here, what happens is users from the internet, they access the web server directly. So web server directly using its public IP address. Okay, this way. But now we are going to route direct that traffic to firewall. Okay. So here, so what we are going to do is we are going to so when it comes to users, they normally access the web server using its private, not private, the public IP address or the DNS name. So what we are going to do is we are going to get this the public IP address of the firewall address interface, public IP, and provide that to the users, that IP address to the users, public IP. So then the users traffic path is they access the Palo Alto firewall public address interface IP address. So then what we are going to do is we are going to do destination NAT rule from the firewall to the web server. This is a destination NAT. Okay, but I think this diagram is not that much clear. So let me draw another one. Here we have our firewall. This is our Palo Alto firewall, and this is our address interface untrust. So then here we have our trust interface, and here we have our web subnet, and this is our web server. Okay, the previous scenario, users accessing the web server from the internet using, sorry, let me delete this. Previous scenario, users access web server through using the web server direct public IP address. Okay, but in this scenario, we are going to do provide the firewall untrust interface public IP address to the users. So then they access the public IP address here. So then what we are going to do is we are going to apply destination NAT from the firewall to the web server, DNAT, destination network address translation from the firewall. So then here we can do all the security checks. We can check for threat prevention. We can check for when it comes to threat prevention, that includes malware prevention, vulnerability protection, and all the features. Okay, so let me get the firewall public IP address, that is the firewall untrust interface public IP address. So let me go to the untrust interface. This is the untrust interface. This is the public IP address. Here let me go to the browser and let me enter the IP address here and press enter. You can see that we are not getting any web page here. So what we have to do is we have to go to the firewall. But we have to go to the firewall and policies tab. Before the policies, security policies, we are going to apply a NAT role. Here let me add a NAT role. Let's say web access, and then here original packet. Our source zone is our untrust, and our destination zone is our trust. Our destination zone is trust, and our source IP address, we are not going to put anything because the internet traffic is from the internet, so we do not know the specific source IP address. And here let me select the service, so that is HTTP, and our destination address, that should be our pre-NAT IP. So this is not a Palo Alto demonstration. This is a Palo Alto demonstration, but this is specifically for Azure deployment. But I'll explain you about NAT role and the security role. So first let me put it here. Destination address should be our firewall untrust interface private IP address. So this is the private IP address, because actually we have to put the destination IP should be the pre-NAT IP when it comes to Palo Alto destination NAT. So I'll explain within a few minutes time. So now it's fine. This is our source zone, this is destination zone, and this is destination address. So this is the NAT role. In translated packet, we are going to do destination address translation. Here I'm going to put our web server private IP address. So let me check, get the private IP address of the web server. So let me copy it and paste it here. Okay, so let me click OK. It has been saved. So then I have another thing. Let me go to security rules, and let me add the security rule, web access. This our source range is untrust, and source address is any, and the destination zone is our destination zone is trust, because this is a post NAT zone,
And the service, I'm not going to use application, but for the demonstration I'm just using service, and then action is allowed. Okay, at this moment I'm not applying any threat prevention rules, but those can be applied from here. Let me click OK, but I made a mistake. Let me go back to net role. Here this destination zone should be untrust. Okay, untrust to untrust. Traffic is coming from untrust to untrust, and the destination address is the public IP address or the untrust interface IP address. And here this is the destination address translation. Sorry, actually I put the IP address here, but I had to select static. Sorry, actually my mistake. So let me paste it here. Okay, now it's fine. Now that is destination address. Let me click OK. Okay. So here, let me explain this NAT rule. Okay, in original packet, the traffic comes from untrust interface, untrust zone to untrust, because traffic from the internet to the untrust interface IP address. So then the zone is untrust to untrust. Okay, and comes to this untrust interface IP address, and the port is HTTP. And in the destination address translation, we have to put the web server IP, so that the firewall is going to translate this address, its original address, to web server private IP address. Okay, so when it comes to security rule, this is somewhat important. Here, this is a zone, this is a source zone, this is untrust, but here destination zone we put trust, because in Palo Alto we have to put prenet IP and postnet zone. The prenet IP is a destination IP here. Sorry, actually I missed the IP, so I had to put the IP here. The prenet IP is our Palo Alto firewall untrust interface IP. So let me go to the Palo Alto firewall. Oh no, I made several mistakes. I'm really sorry about that. Let me copy. This is a Palo Alto firewall untrust interface IP address. So I had to put it here. So now it's fine. So here the source zone is untrust, and destination zone is also not untrust but is trust. So that is postnet zone. Once the traffic has been netted, so that is the destination zone trust. But here the destination address should be the public IP or the untrust IP address. So prenet IP address actually. Okay. So that is that. So let me click OK and commit. Okay. But here, so even though we have already placed the security rule and the NAT rule, this is not going to be work. Let me explain the reason. So now it's 98% completed. Let me go back to the this web browser. So this is our Palo Alto firewall untrust interface public IP address. So let me check whether we have a security group. Let me go to the interface, and yeah, here we have a secret group. So let me add the port 80 should be allowed here. So I think you can remember previously also I made that for the web server, so that is fine. Source and destination port range, and the port the name is 80. Okay, that's fine. It is simple configuration. You just allow port numbers. This should be allowed in the firewall untrust interface. So I think it's being saved here. So let me wait for that to be completed. I think you are getting disturbed by these dogs. They are barking. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, so so now it's fine. So let me go back to the window and let me reload, but you can see it is not getting loaded. So the reason is, let me explain using OneNote. Here so the traffic comes to the firewall, okay, and then the firewall do the destination NAT and send that traffic to the web server. That should be working here. Also let me go to the firewall. Sorry, let me go to the firewall, and let me click close and go to monitor tab. And so let me get my IP address, my internet IP address. What is my IP? So in order to filter traffic, sorry, let me copy and then go back to firewall. This is the source IP, and this session IP is wrong, so let me let me go to policies and check whether I have enabled interzone default. So it is on default now. Here, interzone default. So let me enable logging here, because otherwise I cannot troubleshoot. Let me select and override and check log as session start, not session start, but it's better if I can log as session end. Click OK. So here interzone also I have enabled it. In web access rule also we have enabled log as session end. Let me click OK and commit. So let's wait for the commit operation. It's 98% completed. Uh, 99% completed and close. Let me close it. Okay. So let me go back to the window and let me now refresh, reload, and then let me go back to the monitor tab. Still we cannot see any traffic. So let me go back to the window and check. So let me go to virtual router, because I think we have a different route. www route. Okay, it's there. And policies at the net rule, contrast, and destination IP is 240.4. It's fine, and we can see there's a hit. In security rule, let me check whether we have a hit. In security also we have a hit. So hit count 4, but we cannot see the logs. So why it's that? So let me go to device tab and let me go to licenses, because if we do not have license, we cannot see logs. Okay, that's the problem. Here we do not have, but date issue is no, we have licenses. It says date expires never, since we have pay as you go licenses. So let me go to my tab again. Okay, now it's fine. Now we can see our traffic. See, on trust, this is trust, because the traffic has been natted. So this is my source, and let me go to application. It's incomplete, because here, let me show you something. Here we have receive bytes, sorry, not receive, byte sent. So that means we send traffic towards the web server, but we haven't received any bytes yet. We haven't received any bytes, so that means web server has not responded. Yeah. So let me explain the scenario. Let me go back to the diagram. So here, actually what happened is, so the internet users from the internet, they access the unauthorized interface of the firewall. So let me go back to the firewall and show you one thing. So let me enable several other columns. So net destination, I want to enable net destination IP. Here you can see net destination IP is 240.4. So that means our web server IP. So that means it is correctly matched to the required IP. And so let me go back to the diagram. So traffic comes here. So let me get another color because otherwise you cannot. So otherwise, shall I draw it again? So let me give another color, blue color. So here the scenario is this. So this is our firewall. Because I know the reason why it's not working, but I'm not going to correct it before I'm explaining it. This is our untrust interface. This is our untrust interface. Untrust. And here our trust interface. This is trust, and this is our web server subnet. This is www, and this is our web server. Okay. Okay. So user access the untrust interface public IP address, and firewall NAT destination NAT that request to the web server. This is DNAT. So the problem is when the web server sees this traffic, it sees the source IP, source SRC IP or the source IP, that is my IP address. So that my IP address is the internet IP address, that is public IP address. This web server does not know how to send the return traffic. How to send the return traffic back to the firewall. So it does not have any route. So we have two options. One thing, we can use a source net here in the firewall. We can have a source net, the one option. So then the firewall send traffic to the web server. The source IP address of this, the traffic received by the web server is the firewall trust interface IP address, since this source net is here. So then the web server knows how to send traffic return back to the firewall, and the firewall return that traffic back to my PC. So that's the first option. The second option is having a route table here this subnet route table, or the UDR, user defined route. So in the route table we can ask if the default route should be pointed to the firewall trust interface. So two options. One option is to have a UDR or route table. Second option is to have a source net, subnet in the firewall. So let me show you the second option first, or the source net first. So let me go to, so before that let me go to the window and refresh. I just want to check whether it's working. No, it's not working. And also in the web server logs we can see that we are not getting any byte received. Even though we are sending traffic to the web server is not responding, since it does not have any route intelligence to send back traffic to the firewall. So let me go to the policies and NAT. Let me go to our previous NAT rule, and here let me go translate as packet, and here I'm selecting dynamic IP and port, and let me select interface address. Let me select our interface 2, and let me select IP address. Okay, now we are doing the source translation. But here I'm not explaining this in detail, because if you do not have any idea about Palo Alto firewall security rules and NAT rules, so just put a comment. So then I'll make a comprehensive, complete video regarding Palo Alto security policies and NAT, because when it comes to security policies, we have several types of security policies, and also when it comes to NAT, we have several types of security, NAT rules, like destination NAT, source NAT, return NAT, bidirectional NAT. We have so many NAT types. So let me put a please put a comment, so then I'll make a comprehensive demonstration. So let me click commit, because at this moment I'm assuming that you know these things, because since this is Azure focus demonstration, if I'm going to explain everything, So this is going to be a extremely lengthy demonstration. So in that scenario, you just put a comment. If you do not have any idea about Palo Alto security rules and net rules, so then I make a comprehensive demonstration on that. Okay, now it's 99% completed and now it's done. So let me go back to the window and refresh. See, now we can access the web page. So let me go back to the firewall and check the security, the logs. Let me refresh. So I think it's better if I can generate several requests in order to check the logs. Okay, we have created several. So let me get another incognito window and so let me go back to firewall, refresh. The log has not been updated yet. Yeah, it's updated. Now you can see now the application is identified as web browsing, and our traffic is from Mantra zone to Craft, and this is source IP, that is my IP address, and our ingress interface is 1/1, egress is 1/2, that is our trust interface, and destination IP, this is the original destination, so that means our firewall and trust interface IP 240.132, and here this is our net IP, that is our destination, that is web server IP, and this application, this is the port number, and here, so let me enable net source as well, since I have enabled source net here, net source IP. So here you can see this is 240.100, so that is our firewall trust interface IP address 240.100. So let me show you the bytes. You can see now, because previously we saw that byte send in all the requests, we can see byte send, but the previous request we did not see any receive byte. So that means the responses from the web server we haven't received. We did not receive any responses from the web server, but after applying source net, now web server knows how to send traffic back to the firewall, since the source IP address of that request is the firewall trust interface IP address. So now we can see byte received as well. So now our website is working through the Palo Alto firewall. Okay. So let me disable that rule and show you how to use UDR or route table in order to accomplish that return traffic scenario. Let me click OK and commit. So the traffic is the configuration is being committed. Actually, I do not like to record demonstration in daytime because there are so many noises out there, but today actually I have to do it, so that's what I'm doing. Otherwise midnight would be the best time to record demonstration. Let me click close. Now it's fine. So let me go back to the window and refresh, and please put a comment that if you want to have a comprehensive complete demonstration on Palo Alto security rules and net rules, so then I can explain you all the scenarios and all the possible options, because when it comes to net rules we have several options for the same goal. So now it's not working, so let me go to the route table and let me create a route table. So let me create here I have to select the resource group F-Live, and this should be West US because we are in West US. Okay, so the name should be, let's say, trust route. You can put whatever the required name, but in order to understand the naming convention is important. So it is getting validated. Fine. Let me wait for the deployment to be done. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let me go to the diagram and explain you. Here I'm going to apply a route table to this web subnet. I mean this route table is going to be applied to web subnet, and I'm going to put a route. The route is, if you go on to access 000/0, then the next stop is firewall trust interface, firewall trust IF. So then the web server would send the return traffic back to the firewall. So then we will be able to access our web page. So let me go back to the Azure. Now it has been completed. I guess yeah, our deployment has been completed. So let me go to route table and open the route table, trust route. And here we have to go to routes, and we have to add a route. Route name, let's say default 0000/0, that is internet. And here we have to select virtual appliance and our trust Palo Alto firewall trust interface IP 192.168.240.100. Okay, now let me select OK. Once I'm done with this route adding, so I have to assign this route table into the subnet in order to make that change effect. So let me go to route table here. I mean, go to overview, and here now we have this route added. So this is the default route. So let me go to the virtual network, and let me go to F-like VNet, and then go to the subnet, and trust not trust but F-like web, and let me select the route table, trust route. Let me click save. Now our web server subnet knows how to send traffic back to the firewall. I mean traffic, return traffic destined to the internet. So let me go back to the window and let me reload. Still it's not working, but you have to understand, once you edit a route table or associate a route table to a subnet, you have to wait some time. It takes some time. So let's wait for some time. And I want to tell you again and again, if you do not have idea about Palo Alto firewall, route, I mean these secret rules and NAT rule logic, please don't hesitate to put a comment. Then I'll make a comprehensive demonstration. Now you can see, now we can access the web server. So we check two methods. The first method was using source NAT in the firewall, and second method is putting a UDR, user defined route. So now our the web server is protected through the firewall. So let me go back to the firewall, and in order to protect the firewall web server, so we can put security profiles here. So but at this moment I'm not going to apply any secret profiles, but in the third part of this demonstration, I'll show you. The first thing is I'll show you how to route traffic between two subnets, so that is east-west traffic through the firewall, because I had to explain several things there when it comes to that scenario, and also I'm going to apply the threat prevention profiles to security rules of the firewall. So I think you have obtained some kind of idea about north-south traffic. So that means north-south means traffic from internet to the web server. And also so let's say if you want to access internet through the initiating connections from the web server to the internet, also you have to have a security rules placed in the firewall. Otherwise your web server cannot access the internet. Okay, so then let me show that as well. So here, in order to access the web server, now I cannot access directly using its public IP address, since I have a route table, because in route table it says the return traffic should be sent back to the firewall. So if I'm going to access the web server through its public IP address, direct public IP address, the return traffic would be sent back to the firewall. So then from the firewall it's going to be dropped. So let me restart the session. So you can see now I cannot access the web server through its public IP address. So let me go to the firewall, and let me add edit same rule and put port 22 as well. Let me go to NAT rule, and here so let me add another NAT. web SSH. Web SSH. So the virtual packet, I mean the zone is untrust. I'm not explaining these things because I think I need at least 2.5 hours time to explain all these NAC rules and secret rules, logic in Palo Alto Firewall. If you want that to be done, so let me do that by putting a comment. So then I'll do a demonstration, comprehensive demonstration. So I'm putting untrust, and then the session IPs. I have to get the IP address of the Palo Alto untrust interface. So let me go to virtual machine. Virtual machines are Palo Alto is then go to interfaces, networking. So let me copy this and then put the destination IPs, Palo Alto IP address. That's fine. The service should be SSH. Let me create a service SSH, that is port 22. Before that, let me get the Palo Alto public IP address and try to access try to access the web server. So let me get it here open here, and there's another thing also. We have to open the Palo Alto the security group. The port 22 is not open, so let me open that as well. So here the port is 22 and protocol is any. Otherwise, since I have already showed that you can access the web server through the Palo Alto file using NAC rule and secret rule. I think let me show you another scenario. So if you want to access the web server, the web server CLI or the shell using your laptop without going through the firewall, you can have a route in the Azure level. So let me explain the scenario. I think that is better than since I have already showed you how to put a rule and an NAC rule and access web server through port 80. I'm going to do the same thing for the port 22. I'm not going to do that. So let me explain this. Here we have our firewall. This is important because then you can understand the routing scenarios of Azure. So here we have our firewall. This is PA. And here we have our untrust interface. Untrust. Okay. And here we have our trust interface. And here this is our untrust subnet. Here we have our trust subnet. And here we have our not database, but the WW or the web server subnet. In my in Azure, I have put I think F like web, not WW, but for the business of writing, I'm just putting WW. This is our web server. Okay. So what I did was, so let me get another color and row. No, yeah, sure. Let me get another color. Let me get green. So here, so what I did was, I accessed the web server from the internet. I access the firewall interface, public IP address. So in the firewall, we put a NAC role, destination NAC role. We put the destination NAC role, DNAT. So we access the web server through port 80. So let's say if you want to access the web server, if you do not want to access through the firewall for the management purpose, if you want, so let me change the color. Let me get let's say pink. Okay. So what you have to do is here you can access the web server through your web server public IP address without any issue. But the problem is when the web server receives the request, so web server sees let's say my IP address, my source IP address, and it will send that return traffic back to the firewall. Because it has a UDR. In UDR, we ask web server subnet to send any traffic matches to the internet or 00/0 to the firewall trust interface. So in that scenario, my request comes to the web server through its public IP address, and the return traffic would be sent back to the firewall trust interface. So asymmetric scenario. So what I can do is I can just put another specific UDR. I mean, in same route table, I can put a specific UDR. So let me get my public IP address. Let me check whether it has been changed. This is my public IP address. Okay, so let me copy, and I'm going to put paste. Sorry, actually I don't know how to paste in the OneNote. So let's say now, for example, let's say my IP address is this example 112.111.12.15. This is my IP /32. Okay, so then I can put a UDR and ask, if this is source IP, please send return traffic directly to the internet without sending it to the firewall trust interface. Internet. We can ask this. So then traffic comes to the let's say when I'm accessing through my laptop, the traffic comes to the web server and return will come back to me directly without going through the firewall. So now let's do that. So here, before that, let me refresh again and show you that I cannot access the web server through using my laptop. So let me go to the Azure window and let me go to route tables. I think this is important because adding another security rule and net rule is not that much important or useful for you guys. Trust route. So let me add another route because this is another traffic scenario. So add let's say my PC. Okay, my PC. Sorry, my PC, and address prefix should be my IP address /32. Okay, so then the exit point should be internet. So directly my return traffic for my PC should be sent to the internet. Okay, click OK. Now it's getting added. So once it's done, we'll be able to access our the web server without going through the firewall. I mean, I'm just giving you this another scenario here. So then I can let me restart session, but it has not been applied yet. Now it's fine. Now I got the login form. Let me type my username and let me put my password here. Okay, now it's fine. Now let's try to access internet through the web server. So since we do not have any security role or net policy for traffic initiated from web server to the internet, we cannot access internet. So let me check another. Let's say www.google.lk. So we cannot access. See, we cannot access. So we are getting this DNS resolution from the Azure itself. So but we cannot access. So let me go to firewall and apply security policy before that net rule, because we have to have a source net. Web internet access, and the source zone is trust. I'm not going to explain this because if you need me to explain, just put a comment and I'll do a comprehensive demonstration, because in order to explain Palo Alto NAT and security policies completely, I had to have another 2.5 hours time. So that is so many scenarios are there. And source address, actually I'm not going to put source address, any can be used here. I'm going to the source translation, and here interface address, and this should be 1/1, that is trust interface, and IP is this. Okay, now the net rule is fine. So let me go to security policies and add a security policy. Web internet internet access. So the source should be the trust zone, and the session should be on trust, and application any. I'm just putting default here and allow. Okay. So here scenario is when it comes to web server sometimes may need to get updates, sometimes may get to need to get some downloads, and sometimes security patches and all. So in that scenario we have to have a security role here. So let me try to ping Google. See, now you can ping Google, and also so let me let's say some update apt get update. So sorry, since I'm not a super user, I can do that. So let me go back to super user and do that. Apt get update. See, we can access internet. So now all the traffic all the requests are going through the firewall. So in the firewall, let me go to log window, and let me put the IP address and check logs 191.168.240.4. Here you can see all the traffic initiated from the firewall. Sorry, not the firewall. Traffic initiated from the web server to the internet. Here the one of the most important things you can identify even the application. What is the application that is being used in order to access internet apt get. So that is the scenario. And here in the security role you can use threat prevention profiles here, but in the third part of this demonstration I'll show you how to put threat prevention and all. Here you can put threat prevention profiles. Okay, now I think you have obtained idea about how to secure north-south traffic using a Palo Alto next generation firewall deployed in the Azure environment. So thank you for your time. So I'm planning to record the third part of this demonstration as soon as possible. So in that demonstration I'm going to explain you how to secure not north-south but east-west traffic. So that means traffic between subnets in Azure. So thank you for your time.